It has been so fascinating digging deeper into Queer Vancouver, and we are blown away by what an incredible community we have in this city. It definitely has us wondering where things might be headed and what the future of queer community could look like here in Vancouver.
We know that technology has completely transformed the ways that queer people connect with each other. But how exactly has the digital age impacted the queer experience, and what does it really mean moving forward? Is the future of our queer community online?
Finding and accessing queer community can sometimes be difficult, and it's even harder for queer women and other marginalized folks. Technology and the internet have definitely made it so much easier for people to connect, and it's ultimately changed the way queer community is built.
So we imagine that things are going to continue heading in this same direction, and digital spaces and online connection are going to be a huge part of the future.
There's been so much change over the last 30 years, particularly in the way that we communicate with each other. Social media has become a major way of communicating.
We didn't really have social media in that same way back then, even 15 years ago. It wasn't used in the same way.
But it's a different way of socializing now. And a lot of kids are isolated and on their phones, and that's their social connection now. And that's great.
There's no denying the fact that the internet changed everything, and it's had a massive impact on our community over the past couple decades.
Here in Vancouver, the first time we saw queer community being built in a digital space was through something called Superdike. It was an online social networking website for queer women that went live around the start of the new millennium. And it's a really cool example of early social media in Vancouver's queer community.
I found a website called superdike.com. I feel very proud that sort of similar to MySpace, that I'm part of this cohort of humans that got to experience that chapter of social media. I remember there being a sort of chat option or whatever, and the sort of emblem of Superdike was this illustration of this butch Superdike, and they were wearing I think a blue and red sort of Superman-esque outfit with a cape, and they had this actually just like my haircut right now, this sort of swooped, trim sides, mask blonde look. But it was a directory of queer events. There was some sort of a landing page that, you could write to them and be like, hey, can you post about my fundraiser or my party or something like that. And then there were profiles where you would have an about you and a picture, and it was sort of a dating site as well. But it was a lesbian resource website for Vancouver queer women.
It seems like as soon as the internet was born, queer people were using it to connect and find community. And now, a lot has changed since the days of Superdike, and social media and digital spaces have really evolved.
Queer online spaces really do give people a new way to access community and explore their queerness, maybe in ways that are more easily accessible than seeking out connection in person. We know that for our generation, digital spaces play a big role for people in the exploration of their identity and even in their coming out experiences.
My name is Chloe, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a queer woman living in Vancouver, and I create queer content online. When I first came out, I was 24, and I'd been dating men for so long, I kind of knew that experience. But women, to me, the thought of having to approach someone in real life is just so intimidating for someone who's never been with a woman before. So I actually don't know how I would have met a love interest outside of an online space. And also because I'm femme presenting, no one approaches me. So I think, honestly, knowing that I could switch my Tinder to men and women and kind of have a really non-committal kind of safe dipping my toe into the water made it possible. It wasn't like, okay, I have to like work myself up to like go to a bar and try to like hit on some women. It was very much like with the flick of a button, all of these queer women are showing up on my phone. I'm in my home. Like I don't have to do anything about it if I don't want. And that was honestly the reason that it took me such a short time from realizing I was interested in women to actually like trying to date them. That turnaround time was so fast because it was as easy as doing it on my phone. I legit do not know if I would have been brave enough to approach a woman in real life. It's less intimidating. I think that's what it is. It gives you like a really clear, easy way to like come in contact with queer women. That's not like having to go by yourself to like a gay bar, or just like guess if someone's queer if you like meet them in real life. Cause like we're not like wearing labels, you know? Like I wish we were. Like, hi, I'm queer. But yeah, on Tinder it was like, hey, if anyone's showing up for me, that they're obviously interested in women. So yeah, like I don't know if I would have been able to do it without an app, which is kind of crazy, but it's the truth.
Technology really has reshaped the way we do things, and in many ways, it's created a stronger queer community. Digital spaces really offer queer people an access point and an easy way to see what might be possible.
They also offer queer visibility and representation that so many folks have maybe never seen before. It's so important for queer people to be able to see themselves represented, especially when trying to figure out their identity.
I'm Lydia Okello. I'm a writer and a model and a content creator. I'm a non-binary fat fashion person, and I'm based in Vancouver. I think about what I wish I had when I was young and what I wish I knew could exist when I was younger, because I think if I had known just like all the multitudes of ways that queer people exist, that, you know, being a queer AFAB person didn't look a specific way, or that like being a non-binary person wasn't one thing, I think I would have felt more comfortable with myself a lot sooner, and I would have been able to access those parts of my identity a lot sooner. So, because at least for me, that's something I really struggled with in my journey. And that's something that I just was like, I don't know, like, I don't feel like I fit in any of these boxes. I don't feel like I'm, you know, like, even just like when it comes to like butchness or feminist, like I didn't feel like I really got any of that. And I was like, okay, well, does that mean I don't exist at all? Which obviously I do, but having more of those examples and having more just like variety wholesale would have helped me.
I mean, representation matters, right? We've been saying it for so long. The thing that I am a little bit always thinking about, right, is what types of representation exist.
Yeah, representation is so important, because I think if you don't see yourself represented, and I think not just represented, but like positively represented, you just don't know what is possible for you.
There's been huge changes with the visibility. It's just amazing to me now that that there has been such an incredible shift, and it's so validating.
Visibility is huge in making it okay, particularly for youth who still struggle so much to be accepted and to belong. Having those role models or just these images that people can say, oh, hey, I can be this thing.
Today, digital spaces have expanded into different social media platforms, online networking spaces, dating apps, and so much more. And it's been huge for the queer community in having more ways to create connections, find family, fall in love, and just feel a sense of belonging.
The internet actually played a really big role in our personal journey, and we're so grateful for social media and other online spaces and how much they've changed our lives. For the first 5 years of our relationship, we didn't really feel connected to the queer community, and we struggled to be completely confident in our identities. We felt like there was still a lack of positive representation for queer women, and so we decided to be more visible in an effort to empower ourselves.
We started sharing our life and our love online, and that's how Lez See the World was born. Through sharing our travels, our personal stories, and our marriage on the internet, we built an incredible community of queer people from all over the world.
Now, years later, we feel a sense of community that we never thought was possible. The connections we've forged and the friendships we've cultivated are so special, and every day we see firsthand what an impact online spaces can have for queer people. It helps us all to feel a little less alone, and that's a truly beautiful thing.
When I came out, I just wanted to see other queer women, period. So Jody actually told me that there are a lot of queer women on Instagram who share their stories, and I had no idea that was even a thing, truly. And so I think I just searched hashtag queer women or something on Instagram, and then I saw the whole mass amounts of accounts that there are of people who have the same or similar stories to me, where for whatever reason they don't see themselves represented. And so just reading the stories to know that I'm not the only one going through these things and having these feelings was so helpful. I was able to find accounts that I really related to, and I feel like social media has created a space where you can have conversations about things that might be more challenging, or have access to people's stories without having to ask them, because people, I find at least, are really open about a lot of their experiences as a queer person online. And so seeing that helped me understand myself in a lot of ways, because this was all so new to me.
Queer people being able to easily access community online can honestly be life-changing. For us, we really started Lez See the World for ourselves, and we had no idea what it would grow into. But we are so thankful to be able to share our lives online while fostering real connections and relationships with other queer people.
There is so much power in being visible and open about who you are. And there are so many amazing queer creators online now who are sharing their stories and experiences in different ways.
I started sharing things online. My blog started in 2008, so I've been kicking around the internet for quite some time. In relation to my online identity and my queer identity, and when I was exploring all of that, I wasn't necessarily sure how to navigate it. I definitely was scared that people wouldn't be interested in me anymore, or would leave hateful comments, I just wasn't sure how that would affect my work, I guess, more or less. And I also wasn't, when I was still trying to figure out how I identified, I didn't necessarily feel confident talking about it, because I was well, I don't know, I can't answer these questions. So I did a very weird thing, which is I came out to my family, and then 2 weeks later I was hey, internet, I am out, and had an interview where I talked about that, and I'd never talked about it before. And it wasn't intentional, but for me, I think I felt I could just, get it over with in a way. It's just okay, now everybody knows. They'll say what they want to say, and that's fine.
I think I decided to start sharing queer content because of how people were responding to me when I was coming out to them. So I think it was my way of just kind of declaring, I am queer, and here's what it means for me. And then also knowing how much it helped me to see other people talk about their experiences online. I wanted to contribute to that. And then also put my story out into the world so that people who experience similar things or have similar feelings or thoughts can then reach out to me, and then we can have that connection point. I just wanted to be there for people, because coming out is so complex. And everyone has different nuances and different situations in their lives. Coming out affects so many different areas of their lives, and I just wanted to find people and show people this is my experience, and hopefully it relates to them, and then we can have that connection point, because it's so hard to find in person.
It took me so long to get comfortable in who I am, and now that I'm here, it's okay, let's take advantage of this comfortable feeling and just share it. The people in this community have watched me do my thing, and evolve and change. And, I was female identified, and then, 7 years ago, I came out as trans, and then I came out as non-binary. And I've had a lot of like younger folks come up to me and be like, hey, you know what, just like, thank you, like watching your Instagram or like your social media and the things you say and the things you post, it's really helped me feel comfortable in who I am, or like I see myself in you. What you post is so relatable, things like that. It's not even just younger folks, it's some people who maybe they didn't even come out until they were 40, and then they see me doing my thing, and they're just like, wow, like that's inspiring, or something like that. The best part about being queer for me is sharing and supporting one another, and I think, just creating community.
I think for me, my approach to sharing like my queerness or incorporating my queer identity into my content is more day to day, because I am queer, so like it is a part of me and is important to me. So I think it's more like kind of incorporated into everything else, or like incorporated into sort of my daily life and like what I share from my daily life. My content is like specifically largely fashion focused, but obviously being a queer person, being a non-binary person, being Black, being fat, like someone can see what I do and be like, oh, like it's regular. Like for me, that's something that I think is important to see. And it doesn't have to be ordinary, but I think sometimes just having those like more ordinary examples allows people to feel comfortable identifying in a certain way, or feel comfortable with who they are, not feel like suddenly they have to change because they came out, or suddenly they need to reassess who they are because they came out, and that they can still be themselves.
Online, I talk about being queer. It's almost like a narrative journey of my experience. So when I was first coming out, I talked a lot about like what that feels like, how it impacted my mental health, what it was like to come out to my family and friends. And then as my relationship with Jody, who was my first girlfriend, kind of how our relationship formed and what it felt like to be dating a woman for the first time, and just bringing people along in our lives. I also love the idea of creating visibility of like happy queer adults in a lot of ways. I just want to create visibility for younger people to see it'll get better. And I think like coming out, being queer, and mental health are so closely tied together. I just want to like really break down barriers and stigmas of these things that are really hard to talk about. And I happen to be someone who's pretty comfortable being open about these things, but I know a lot of people aren't. So if I can be the one person who someone in a small town, or someone younger, or someone who doesn't really kind of feel comfortable talking about it with people in their lives, if they can come to my Instagram or my blog and see me sharing my experiences and at least know that they're not alone. And then also like, we all go through this stuff, but like, that doesn't have to be the thing that defines you, and that like there is the community out there, even if it's not right kind of like in your neighborhood. That would be like my ultimate goal.
Social media really does so much for queer community. And it's incredible now that we have so many people sharing their lives online and showing all of the different ways that someone can experience being queer.
And we now are able to see the world evolved to a space to where there are lots of opportunities for people to truly express themselves, and there's stories to back that up. So if this is how I feel and I want to explore, I can go to Google, I can go and I can go on Instagram, I can find anything I'm feeling.
Because queer people are all different, it's refreshing to see that spectrum presented now, because I think for a long time it was only one thing. That I think is something that I really enjoy about social media, is like all the different ways queer people exist. I think that is something that's really exciting moving forward, and like really exciting for like future generations as well, is to just see that like who you are is who you are, and you don't actually have to like narrow your vision just because you identify a specific way.
So what does this mean for the future? It's amazing to see how much digital spaces have evolved and the ways they offer such vital connection and representation for queer people. It's exciting to imagine how future generations will use social media and online spaces, and how it will all continue to expand in the years to come.
But it's hard not to wonder, will our queer community one day only exist online? Or is there still a need for in-person connection and real-life queer spaces?
Thank God for the internet, truly, because I think that it's created the option for so many people to be able to connect regardless of location. It's really easy, I think, to have online friends, but we still also have to have like real life friends.
Social media is such a tricky place. Ultimately, yeah, I think it's a powerful tool. But yeah, I think there's still so much need for in-person connection.
I hope that venues, like anybody who's in any kind of higher up position that can help create space for queers to exist in, you know, they're instrumental in our progression and our survival.
When I think about Vancouver's future, I guess what I hope to see is more queer-run permanent spaces, more flexibility in terms of how these spaces are used. So like being able to use that queer hub for like all different purposes all throughout the day.
The answer is we just need lots of spaces, and we just need many, many spaces that are open to different people. So where is our community supposed to gather?
We need to have a way to find each other.
It's nice to have space to like talk to people and actually connect.
My ultimate dream is to have a queer coffee shop where you just go and you know that queers will be there, and it's not like a high pressure, like everyone's kind of partying environment. It's just really like chilled. Like I just want spaces that are kind of open where you can come and go as you like, knowing that it's queer centric. How cool would it be if we had like a centralized space or something that's like obvious? The HQ, the Queer Vancouver HQ.
I hope that you know, people in power can keep working towards making our lives easier and making us not feel like othered, and you know, and that we can just keep being supported to have community. You know, we want to keep on going with what we're doing, and people kind of having somewhere safe to land.
You know, queerness is it's community, and it's solidarity, and it's being together.
It seems like digital spaces will absolutely continue to have an impact on queer community because of their easy access and the important visibility and diverse representation they offer. But in the future, there will likely always still be a need for in-person community because there is something so powerful about coming together and building real-life relationships.
So maybe Vancouver's queer community needs both in order to thrive, and future generations can keep exploring all the different ways to connect. We're so excited to see where things go and what the future of Queer Vancouver will look like. We know there is still work to do for things to continue improving, but we are definitely headed in such a positive direction.